free talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gontos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gontos.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Wow, look at your new studio. I'm telling you, I knew that some people hunkered down during these times like we did. We built a new studio at UCI. You built something even more impressive. I'm impressed.
You know, I build these things so fast. I just put up a background. No, this is. You know, it's important to have goals. It's important to have dreams.
Yeah,
You
vision
know,
boards.
and
Do you do that? Do you put something
this is
up?
my vision board.
Yeah.
This is my vision board.
Okay.
Anybody has a commercial space that have windows that look like that?
Yeah.
Let me know, and if the price is right, you know, maybe I'll give you guys free interior design services and digital content development, which we're going to talk about for a minute here.
Yeah.
But for the space, I'd like a space like this, please. That's on my vision
I like
board.
the inlaid wood and all that stuff. That's
No,
in
look
the
at
ceiling.
these floors, man. Look at these floors. Herringbone,
Yeah.
dark floors. I love this up here. I can't tell if it's brick or what that's in the ceilings, like semi-barrel ceilings.
Yeah.
The French style old industrial black doors and glass. I mean,
You just need a pulpit at the end where you can stand and preside over all your little designers as the minions as they work out the draftsmen and stuff here. Yeah.
so many people who've been listening to the illustrious Paul Roberts for a long time don't know that he has a middle name.
Yeah. I
Yes,
I
he
always
has a
hated it,
middle
but you're
name,
gonna
and
you're gonna
we
you're gonna reveal it.
And we refer to him. Yes, I'm going to reveal it. We refer to him as Father Tim
Yeah.
when he's on his
Tim.
Irish bully pulpit.
Father
So
Tim.
Father Tim.
I always hated that name, but I've come to accept it because people used to make fun of me because of it. I don't know why I thought Timmy. Because there was Lassie and Timmy. That was when I was a kid.
What's that, Lassie? Timmy's in the well? What?
Yeah, Timmy's in the well once again. Every week, the stupid Timmy fell in the well. I got in trouble.
Timmy, you would think Timmy would figure out that, you know, or the family would put a friggin' piece of wood on top of the well.
Exactly, or they would put a leash on Timmy.
I have a you know what? I it's like every star, you know, they get a little too big for their britches,
Yeah.
right? I think Lassie turned into a bitch.
Yeah,
Okay.
literally. I think she was a bitch. I'm not sure it was a boy or a girl dog. I'm not sure.
The only other person that I can equate with sort of that kind of position is Tweety Bird. Like
Oh,
Tweety
yeah,
Bird, in my
Tweety
mind,
Bird.
has always been considered a homicidal maniac.
Oh, wow.
He basically like would egg, you know, and I understand it's a Me Too movement going on right now,
Yeah.
but you know, Tweety Bird would be sitting in her golden cage going, "Oh, I am the Tweety Bird
Yeah.
in the golden cage," and then she would draw Sylvester into within her
And
reach,
snare her, and snare
Yes.
him.
and then she would basically go with
Granny.
with grandma or what was her name?
Granny.
can't
I think
remember.
just Granny.
Grandmother. Yeah, Granny. Granny would be around, and then Tweety Bird would somehow beat the shit out of Sylvester
Yeah.
to the point of to an inch of his 9 lives, basically, right?
Yeah, right.
And then she would be the one that was the victim. I mean, I think Lassie probably pushed Timmy in the well every week.
Now you got another one that you brought up. How about what's happened to Pepe Le Pew?
No, I'll say it right now here. Hashtag free Pepe. Let my Pepe free.
Not to politically. I always felt a little creepy about Pepe Le Pew and
no.
myself. I got to be honest.
Poor Pepe. I mean, Pepe was an idiot. Okay? Pepe was an idiot. Pepe basically was the biggest loser. I mean, you know, if he wore a leisure suit, he would be called Leisure Suit Larry. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the biggest loser, right? He never scored. He never was able to as much. But he was also the hopeless romantic.
And unrelenting in his pursuit. Yeah.
But with all seriousness, though, right? And I agree that Pepe really needs to be reformed, but I'm not ready to basically just kick him to the curb. Right?
Kick him out of the club.
Right. I mean, what's the point? I mean, we reform prisoners, but we can't reform Pepe. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. Okay, but I will say this: all things being considered, all things being serious, if we go too far in whitewashing everything,
Yeah.
in sort of, and I hate the word cancel culture because it's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
It's not. It's we adjust. We go through these pendulum swings all the time, right? Any student of history will tell
And
you
it
this. It's not our
suggests
first
a
rodeo.
left-wing perspective when, in fact, there's equal right-wing pressure to
Well, but
conform
we go
and
through
to
this. We go through
cancel
this. We go through
ideas
this
they
all
don't
the.
like. Yeah.
We go through this all the time, Paul. We have a reaction because we have an awareness. We have a reaction, and we overreact, and then we adjust. And this is just nature of
I
human
remember
beings.
when evangelicals wanted to cancel Halloween because it's really Hallows Eve.
Exactly. So
Right.
we do this all the time. So I'm not going to basically get sucked into this whole like this is a paradigm shift thing going on. However, a word of caution: if we lose the ability to highlight things that are not appropriate, how the heck do we talk about them? How the heck do we even reference them?
Right.
If I can't have Pepe on the screen being an idiot, basically overplaying his hand, how can I make a case for the fact that men should be more considerate of women? How do I make a case for the fact that people should not be sexualized or objectified? And that goes both ways, by the way. But let's say, in case of, how do I basically make a case of that in a digital world where everything is visual? If I don't have a reference point of that, if we whitewash everything out of the culture, how do we make that? If I didn't have Das, what's Das Kampf, right?
Mein
Hitler's book.
Kampf.
Mein Kampf, sorry.
Right. My story.
Das Boot, Mein Kampf, whatever.
Right.
Okay, but if we didn't have that in the
couldn't read
library
that,
to where
right.
we could reference to and say no, then how do we make their connection? Okay, so be careful how much you throw out of the history with well intentions.
And again, I
where you don't have a
remember
reference point.
when I was a child, evangelicals burning rock and roll records vividly, banning books from Catcher in the Rye or other books from the library.
The Confederate statues. I am all for correcting it and adding more content. But to remove a statue that could be a learning opportunity because it could showcase how we went wrong and then now we have learned,
Right.
is much better than taking it out. Now, you don't want to keep it in a position of prominence, fine, but you need to put it somewhere.
Right.
Okay, I mean, even friggin' Madame Tussauds has a corner for murderers and serial killers, and it made out of wax. I mean, we have to be careful that in our quest for equality on everything, that we eliminate the reference points to why we are seeking a better tomorrow.
I just opened the door. Pepe Le Pew always made me a little creepy when I was a kid. Anyway, I thought he was a little too amorous, a little too.
Were you walking around with a streak down your tail because paint dropped on it?
Pepe Le Pew, and the other one I'm surprised they haven't picked on was the little mouse the little Mexican mouse whose name escapes me now here.
Oh, yeah, Speedy Gonzalez.
Speedy Gonzalez, yeah.
Or even more so, elevating his cousin Slowpoke Gonzalez because he may have been slow and having a speech impediment. Maybe he was never diagnosed for ADHD. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, Speedy was always on what, speed, crack? I mean, and then Slowpoke basically had a learning disorder, or
Yeah, right.
The point that we're making here is we can take these things and take them in all kinds of directions.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is be careful in getting rid of everything that where you have no reference to it anymore.
You can have
and
nothing.
then it's harder to make the case of why you are seeking a better tomorrow.
So we need a few bad examples just so we can poke at them here.
Yeah, I mean, yes. There was a reason why they put people in the
Well, that's why I'm on your
divided the
show.
village.
I'm the bad example to be on your show here. That's why.
You're a bad example. You're always been I mean, I can't shake you. You've been a bad example for 6 years.
Exactly.
I've given up. Okay.
Exactly.
Perfect example, ladies and gentlemen, how not to run a radio station.
Yeah, don't.
If we got rid of
If we canceled me and shut me up, then who would propose these strange things? Well, I want to propose another. On a serious note, you've really decided to go in all in and help us produce more podcasts, because we've discovered in the pandemic not everybody can come to a studio. More and more people want to do these themselves, but they do them so badly and so wrong. So can't we help that too?
Exactly. I mean, we go off on these tangents, right? And I didn't have any intention of basically defending Pepe in the public.
You just had to do that one, right? Yeah.
At least I'm dressed for the part. Maybe I don't know.
Right.
But the thing about this is, yes, there are paradigm shift happened last year.
Big time.
It affected every industry.
Yeah.
Every industry. There was no going back to what we've done before. As much as people, I think, still harp on the fact and really are holding nostalgically to the idea that maybe they can one day get there. It's not going to happen. And I'll say right now that from all the stuff that I'm reading from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, what have you, is the wallets are going to get tighter. And people are not going to not spend, but they're going to spend on things in a much more critical manner than before, right? So you got to really come up in level. You got to come up with content. You can't sell sizzle anymore without steak.
No.
Okay, there has
Any
to be
more than you can hold up your iPhone and take a video and be a star on YouTube anymore. Those
which
days
a lot of
have
people
passed.
are doing.
They're still
right?
trying.
And people are trying to put things in formulas, like, oh, you should do a 3-minute spot only with a few questions or whatever. Well, that's not really content. That's not even a friggin' trailer, right?
No,
but
exactly.
that doesn't mean that you should have an hour show every friggin' day, because you're going to burn me out and you're not going to have content. So you and I have been doing this on the Rad Life for 6 years, from the minute that you made that mistake of letting me in the door.
Yeah, right. And can I, before you tell me what you're going to do, I just got to point out, you were a pioneer in this, because the story I tell everybody now, everybody knows I'm a good Irish Catholic.
Oh, you're talking about me now behind my back?
No. Everybody knows I'm a good Irish Catholic, and everybody knows that now you gave my middle Irish name, Timothy, away. So,
Timmy. Father
Tim feels like, here's my new joke I give everybody. I'll try it on you. For the last 6 years, you and I and a few others pioneers here, we have been John the Baptist, wandering the desert, proclaiming that the Savior is coming, something new is coming, streaming is coming, podcasts are coming, and nobody would listen to us. Nobody's going to listen to a podcast. Nobody's ever going to bother streaming any of this stuff. And now we are all struggling to catch up the rest of the world. They've not only caught on and got religion, they have suddenly become racing to create their own content.
So you and I talked about a couple of years ago. We started referring to things as cacophony of content.
Yeah, right.
Right? Cacophony, for those who don't know the word, it's one of my favorite words, and I picked it up from a comic book. So here we go, full circle. Right?
Cacophony.
Cacophony. Actually, the comic book is Asterix, and it was translated from French into English in multiple languages. And it was this little the little village in Gaul that comes upon a magic potion that makes them invincible against the whole Roman Empire, and they're the only standoff of the whole new Roman Empire.
Wow!
And every one of the characters in that village has a Saxonish sounding name, like Geriatrix is the chief. Geriatrix. Asterix is the smallest person in the village, who's also the most powerful. And their bard or their singer, who has no voice whatsoever, would be kicked off American
Idol.
What's the show?
American
Idol in a heartbeat, right? Simon would kick him to the curb. His name was Cacophonix, and that's where I picked up the word cacophonix. It's cacophony. Cacophony is noise.
Yes.
And a lot of people may think that what we do on the Rad Life is noise, but cacophony is noise. And what has happened in this world of digital content, easy entry, low cost entry, is everybody and their brother is putting out digital content.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as happens in the case of everything, including print, including 270 channels of TV and nothing to watch, is content. Content I can use.
Yeah.
Authentic, courageous content is what it's all about. And right now, what we have been preaching for the last few years is even more critical. And so with that in mind, what we've decided, and some people know that I have, in the course of doing my show, other people have asked me to help them with theirs. We've spun off other shows. We have an entity called Golden Seal Productions. You can find out more about it at goldensealproductions.com. We have come together with OC Talk Radio. Paul and I have come together to provide not only the distribution channel and the bandwidth, and the facilities with the new studio that is ready to rock and roll at UCI, and a couple of ancillary areas that we may be able to develop into things like town hall meetings and things of that nature, where digital content takes on a different format. We also are going to produce shows, meaning if you're interested in having a podcast or any kind of digital content, and these days it doesn't even matter anymore. It's not a podcast, it's a show, because it has audio, it has video.
Right.
You know, podcasts traditionally were only audio, they were
Right.
only posted, they were only recorded and then put up. This is live, this is all kinds of different things you can do. So let's just call them shows.
Mhm.
If you're interested in doing a show, do yourself a favor.
And you have
Contact
something
me
to
or contact
say.
Paul, and he'll
And you have something to say.
well, and that, and but everybody thinks, and I don't want to basically burst anybody's bubble, but everybody thinks they have something to share, and
Right.
in most cases, that is true. The question is, does what you have to share really make it possible for you to carry a show?
Exactly.
And every show is different in
To
terms of
sustain
duration,
the
in terms of-
conversation. That's the difference between
Right.
this medium and everything else. People come in and want to do one podcast. That's like one tweet, one post on Facebook. This is, if you're going to take the effort, it's a continuing conversation that you're going to have with your audience, and a promise that you're going to be here week after week or month or whatever pace you're going to do it at, that you can't just do it randomly, irregularly, any more than you can tweet once in a while and wonder why nobody follows you, or post every so often and figure out why nobody's subscribes to your
If you have-
page.
if you and I preach this to people who have asked, if you have a very specific and focused content subject matter, you're probably not needing to do this every week. You probably should do it every 3 weeks, maybe, you know, and there's more strategy to it. You should probably do it in a manner that is maybe interview, maybe it's not, maybe it's more of an educational component. You know, how much advertising do you bring in? How much infomercial format do you bring in? Again, there's a few things that come to bear because you're working on your brand, you're
Right.
working on your brand in terms of a authority on the subject, or perhaps, I mean, people always ask me, like, well, how do you monetize the Raad Life with your interior design business? And I said, I don't. The Raad Life for me is a journey of exploration.
Right.
It's about things that as I get older and I'm interested in, I basically bring on board. But even in my capacity, I have realized that there's certain things that are better suited on other people's shows, which basically is what caused Golden Steel Productions to originally start. We kicked off selling the Lux Life, which, by the way, has been in hiatus for a bit, but we are bringing back selling the Lux Life. It's going to
Good.
be called the Lux Life, and it's going to be with a new host, which I'm not sharing just yet, but some of the people I know will know him immediately when I said him, damn it. Okay. All right. But that is coming back. So
Good.
the Lux Life is coming back. We have a new show.
Because
lined
let me
up.
just stop you for 1 second. In the midst of the pandemic and all the problems, it is a tale of two cities, to quote Charles Dickens. There are those who have suffered and continue to try and figure out how to reinvent themselves or remake it or survive or in this world. We all know those, the older, those that had service jobs in hotels or restaurants.
Right, the jobs have become obsolete or
Yeah.
are currently so furloughed that you don't know what 4 years from now.
A lot
if
of
they're gonna
people
be around or
still
not.
struggling trying to figure out. But the other end, the luxury end, oh my goodness, the billionaire class. I just read something the other day, how much money they have made. The Jeff Bezos, not just Bezos and that, but all these other streaming services and other online services and everything, they've exploded. So there's been a wealth gap that's even widened further between the haves and the have-nots. So don't think that the Lux Life is now obsolete because we're all under
Oh,
lockdown.
no.
Yeah.
And in fact, I just wrote up a content on one of the shows that we are launching in April with my buddy Jim Krogan. He and I are probably about 20 plus years of experience in the hotel and the hospitality and spa business. The show is called Specifically Speaking. So it's a play on specifically speaking, specifically speaking.
Right.
It really talks about the fact that this industry basically took it like got kicked in the what,
Yeah,
and
right.
along with the hotel industry. And the projection is that we're not going to see a major tick of any relevance until 2023. That's 2 years from now. However, the reason why we're doing the show and we're being very candid about it, about speaking it, is COVID may be very much an opportunity for us. It may be a catalyst for many industries to abandon what has habitually been the case forever, which is
Mm-hmm.
to do the same thing every year, just put a new wrapper on
Yeah,
it,
right.
a new set of trends, whatever, that once you scratch that little surface, it's the same stuff that you've been pitching year in, year out. And be courageous enough to go there, because there's going to be some pushback. There's going to be resistance from people that are not as willing to jump into the deep end of the pool, let go of the edge of the pool, cast sails towards an uncharted waters.
Yeah.
There are people that are basically later in life, maybe in their careers, whatever, they're going to try to hold on to what it is that they know.
Right.
Unfortunately, the reality is we're not ever going back there. And so people are going to lean into what we have maybe traditionally called luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But where, for example,
Because
luxury
that
is going
segment
to
of the
be
market has actually, it's nobody wants to play this up too much because it doesn't sound good, but the high-end luxury market hasn't shrunk. Luxury homes haven't lost value. We don't see luxury properties going away. It'll be the lesser-end properties. We don't see luxury services and luxury products disappearing.
personally, Paul, I think that is the now. I think it is almost like the last hurrah.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming out of this sequestering for a year and the vaccine is around, we are basically acting like we're in the clear. I think it's more of a last hurrah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the sustainability of what we're talking about in terms of expenditure is not going to last, because behavior patterns, purchasing patterns have changed. So it's not about the fact that luxury goods are going to go away. It's about what they stand for and what their brand represents, and
Right.
how they basically make a connection of meaning and depth with the customer is what's going to happen. Spa industry is one of those classic examples where forever and ever and ever, the industry rightfully has been frowned upon
Mm-hmm.
for being myopically focused on wealthy spenders.
Right. Wealthy
whereas
women.
whereas health, wealth, wellness, okay, is such a should be just such a right, that the way to service that right may not look like it was before. It won't, but it doesn't mean that those pockets that are shrinking are not going to spend the money. They're just going to be very selective where they spend
Because
it.
they've learned that wealth without health is meaningless.
Wow, I like that. Can I use that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to use that. So specifically speaking, is going to dare to go there,
Right.
right? Just like with the Rad Life, dare to go there with senior issues and,
Right.
and with things that are local network, local news issues. We're going to dare to go there. There's another show we are launching that's called Gen Bridge X, because I'm a Gen Xer,
Oh,
you're
you've
a
talked
baby
about
boomer.
this. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're
And
the
I'm
lost generation. You're the
no, we're
Hemingway
not.
generation
No,
of
we're
the 20s.
We're the connecting generation. We're the bridging generation. See, I like this actually. It's got a handle now with the show. Right. Gen Bridge X is going to be a show that Golden Seal Productions is going to be putting out in partnership with OC Talk Radio. It's going to be myself as a co-host, and a gentleman by the name of Isaiah Leslie, who's going to basically also co-host with me. And what was interesting about that show concept, and this is the idea of what we'd like to provide through Golden Seal to
Yes.
other people. We sat down and we tried to strategize this show. I know Isaiah, he has a voice, I have a voice, but there was this area that wasn't really addressable at best under the Rad Life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the fact that we as Gen Xers are in our 50s now. We are not necessarily a lost generation. In fact, if you look back at how our characteristics have been, boomers have certain characteristics that have been with them all their life. Gen Xers have always been a bridge generation.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been a connecting generation, whether we're facilitators to people who, hey, I need somebody. Do you know somebody? Oh, yeah, sure. And we're now at gatekeeping positions in our 50s and in our 40s. And so we wanted to highlight some of these Gen Xers that are in those positions,
Mm-hmm.
right? We wanted to basically highlight the connection of Gen X between millennials and boomers, which are the big bookends on each side of us. Out of that conversation and development phase for the show, we also realized Isaiah tends to be more right center. I tend to be more left center.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized that we actually could have a platform through Gen Bridge X to not only bridge generationally, but to also bridge across the divide of polarized tribalistic
Boy,
society.
if that was even possible, I'd tune in every show here. It just
So we
seems
are going to basically use that, and this is the thing that you and I are talking about. When we strategically sit down and discuss what a show can be and how it can go, with those parameters or overarching ideas, you now have a show that you can make last, that has a shelf life, that can
right.
be also reactive to the things that are happening now. Like it can be current, right? And so if you, again, I'll
And
put it
maybe
out
it's a
there. If
short-term project, or maybe it's a long-term conversation.
correct,
But
it
it's
could be a series, like
right.
we did the COVID Chronicles was sort of a series.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. It just may mean that, and again, this is sort of working in the trenches for 6 years. Paul's been at this way longer than me, but there's a right way to do this, and there's a wrong way to do this.
Yes.
And a lot of people that are out there doing it are doing it, unfortunately, the wrong way.
And I'll tell you what, 3 things that I see all the time. One, they don't have a sustain. They have it's like an idea for a TV series. The first episodes are clever, and then they quickly run out of ideas here.
Yeah, the pilot was great, and then we couldn't make it through half season.
It's not a sustainable conversation, or they haven't thought through the part. So they need help thinking through that part to make it long term. Whatever the series is, if it's 12 episodes or 12 years. You have to think through that conversation. It can't just
and
be
where are you going to take it? How are you going to basically deliver on it? Like in the case of basically co-hosting has its benefits. Hosting your own show also has its benefits. Where I've
you just need some help
shows.
figuring that out. And I ran across 2 people in the last 2 weeks who each told me they came on as guests on one of our other shows. They said, "Oh, we have a podcast." I said, "Oh, really? How many shows have you done?" 2. Have you pushed them out? No, we didn't push them out anywhere, but we got 2 shows. I said, that's just recorded interviews. A show is an ongoing commitment. Whatever
it's an
pace.
engagement.
Yes, an engagement.
It's an engagement.
I'm going to do this weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever pace I'm going to do it at, and I promise you I'm going to stick to that for a while. And I'm going to do it for a year or a month or 6 years, whatever it is. But it's a commitment that you make to the audience. Otherwise, the audience isn't going to listen.
I mean, Paul, we've been doing this more or less every week for six years under the Raad Life, right?
Yeah, right.
We've been doing it for an hour, some cases more. Sorry for people who we've bored a little bit, but we've done it for anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half. Sometimes I think there were a couple of shows went to 2 hours because it was
only
just
if we were drinking, right? Yeah.
Well, no, I think this is the other side of this.
Right.
Is if you control it so tightly, you may miss out on some nuggets that happen.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you have to leave yourself open. It's an engagement with the host,
engagement and a
guest,
commitment.
with the subject and a commitment.
I can give people 100 good reasons to do it. You get seen as a thought leader. You create content for your site that brings people there, keeps them there longer, brings them back more often, creates actual backlinks as people link to it.
But you can do that on TikTok for 2 minutes every day.
I understand.
But the point is this the right medium for you or not?
And that's where you have to have a conversation about the difference between this and TikTok. A TikTok is not a continuing conversation. It's a one-off. It's a snippet. It's a soundbite. We're set up as a society to have tweets and sound bites. Podcasting exploded because people were hungry for what you get in an audiobook, an extended, ongoing chapter by chapter discussion of something here.
Right.
And maybe it's a series. And Netflix does this. All Amazon, everybody else, they're creating these series of. It's not just a show, but it's an arc. It takes you through a journey. That's what this show is. What's your story and what's your journey?
But my point is, I had no idea, and we've kind of learned along the way, and we want to take that education,
right,
and sort of the partnership that you and I have had informally, kind of, and bring it to bear to other people, because I really believe wholeheartedly that when I encounter somebody that has a voice to share, I want to give them a platform to do it from, and I want to give them a chance to succeed at it. But not only, and I'm going to sit on the sideline. I'm not looking for the sort of the recognition of this. I want them to basically be able to share what they have inside them with other people, and with the partnership with OC Talk Radio, we are able to also then channel and amplify that message appropriately through an existing established
distribution
channel.
channel, right? So let me tell you why it appealed to me. Because one, we're always looking for more content to add to our shows, and because it became clear as podcasting doubled from 1 million to 2 million in this last year. It took 10 years to get to 1 million. It took 1 year to double it because suddenly everybody has woken up to what we were preaching: streaming and podcasting, long form storytelling, a continuing conversation. All this stuff is suddenly people have got it. And there's a million reasons we can talk about doing it and the power of it. There's a reason everybody's taken to this medium. But you got to do it right. You got to think it through right. And not everybody has really got the resources. You know, we obviously charge to come in and use the studio and
Sure.
to produce stuff here.
But you and I have figured out a multiple layers of how to do this for
Exactly.
people
So we
on
can
what would be appropriate for them.
So if
Custom
you need to
tailored.
have an in-studio with pro mics and engineers and live streamed and video and all the other stuff, we've got it here. A unique platform that's both online radio and live podcasting.
And with Golden Seal, I mean, we've done on location.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
So there's other things we
done
can do.
pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the right fit for you?
Exactly.
Come and talk to us about this.
All the way
In-
down to some of the shows you're doing are literally you're setting them up and they're just doing it from home on Zoom.
Yes,
And then
yes.
we take that content, put it on our YouTube channel, and blow it out to our audience so that you're not talking in an empty void.
Piggybacks to Wall Street with JJ. Awake with Javon. I mean, we've done a couple of these shows that are all different in all different format. The idea is to make it sustainable, not only in terms of your content and what messaging you may do, but also sustainable in terms of being able to do it and that doesn't become a burden on you. Because I got to tell you from personal experience, and Paul will tell you too, lining up those guests, making sure that the content and the guest quality is consistent.
And then
you don't
pushing it
lose
out
any
afterwards. You got to do something with it. Somebody's got to hear it. Just because you recorded it doesn't mean anybody hears it.
Right, but I mean, if you have two great guests, and then basically you haven't strategically thought how they're going to connect to the next two, you got my attention, and worse than me not being aware of you, you're now on my radar. I've paid attention to you. I've spent two episodes listening to you, and then you drop the ball on the quality, or you veer off into some area that has nothing to do and disconnect.
Or you stop production for 2 months or whatever.
Or you stop production for 2 months. Yeah. So again, coming out of COVID, if you're interested, and it's totally clear that this is a medium that is only going to grow in terms of not only reach,
here to stay,
but sophistication too.
Right.
Like your backdrops. If you're doing it out of your home with a friggin' cabinet behind you, it may be appropriate given what you are doing. If you're doing a home-based business thing or a home-based care thing or whatever. But if you're not, you really got to think about how it looks, how it feels, how it smells, how can it be sustained,
how
can
does
you
it sound?
Produce it.
Yeah,
all of it.
It's the quality of it, the sound, the visuals. We're not going to accept the Zoom world for much longer, where it sounds like this and it looks terrible and the connection drops and it's a bad webinar where I spend 10 minutes trying to get the connection up and all that. People aren't going to put up with that anymore. They're already burning out of that.
And equally, Paul, to say this also as we're ending this is, don't fall for the person that's telling you it's going to cost you a huge amount of money, because given where we're at today, given what options are out there, how it can be layered, it can look like champagne and you can spend a beer budget. Okay, as long as you have the strategic know-how and expertise guiding you. Don't fall for those people that, just like in the days of old, when you wanted a website and somebody wanted to charge you $12,000 for a website. Okay, don't fall for that. Reach out to us. There's no commitment. Just talk to us about this. If you're interested, we'll be candid. We're candid. We're honest.
And multi-levels from we'll show you, we'll sort of coach you and show you how to do it yourself, to we'll help you set it up and lay it out, to help you promote it and distribute it, to help you come into the studio and produce the full-blown champagne version
and
of
as
it.
you do more of them, you yourself in this medium are going to expand and grow. So having a partner that can grow with you, both strategically as well as in terms of what you are wanting to do, open up new doors, new ways of doing things. We have the reach, we have the connections, and we've been doing this long enough ourselves. We're not preaching from a position of not somebody who's sat in front of the mic or behind the mic and tried to keep interest and engagement. So come to us. Let's talk to you about this. You can reach Paul at octalkradio.net. You can reach me at goldensealproductions.com. We are basically overexposed on social media, so I don't think you have any issue finding us. Right. And while you're at it, free Pepe. No.
Don't go there again.
No, I'm not going there again.
All right.
But hey, if you want to talk about Pepe and cancel culture, come talk to me. And I'm always looking for guests on the Raad Life. But again, it has to make sense. Okay,
Right.
if you think about like Johnny Carson, if you think about Larry King, okay, this is the one thing that I will tell you. If you're thinking of doing a podcast, be clear on whether you're the star behind the mic and
Yes.
your guest is there like a sidekick,
Yes.
like an Ed McMahon to Johnny Carson, right? Or are you the foil? Are you the Larry King that is going to filter that guest who is in the spotlight, who is elevated to a point of being in the spotlight, filter through your mindset,
Yes.
and that is what the person who's engaging
Can
by
I tell you a
listening to
funny
you is
story
going to
as
do.
we go out here? So,
Go ahead.
your audience who's followed us may know that I started life as an entertainment publicist in my late 20s
Yes.
and early 30s. Johnny Mathis, Anthony Quinn. Went to the Tonight Show many, many times when the great
You had
Johnny was
somebody.
there.
You had somebody that just passed away that I could
I,
not
I
believe
did. Yaphet
was
Kotto.
you represented.
Yaphet Kotto I represented for years. Yeah,
And for those who don't know that, it's the guy that was in, wasn't it Live and Let Die?
Live and Let Die. He was the bad guy, and he was an
He was the bad
alien.
guy in Live and Let Die.
He was an alien. He was one of the crew members, famous crew members in Alien. Lots of Idi Amin
I
on
think
television.
he was the only African American in Alien.
He was. I could tell you stories about Yaphet Kotto forever. I represented him for years.
But I was impressed. I mean, he wasn't the guy with the top hat, the witch doctor in Live and Let Die.
No, he
But
was
he was the main guy.
he was the bad
in Live
guy.
and Let
Yeah.
Die. I was like, damn, Paul, that's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
impressive. Now you're telling me after he passed away, I can't get a friggin' autograph?
he was a client of mine for years. Anyway, one of the things. So I got to go to the Tonight Show. This is half a century ago. It seems like. So I went there in my late 20s when I got hired, and I'm there with my mentor, my boss, and I'm literally as close as we seem to be. I'm like literally 5 feet away from where Johnny is sitting on the couch. Because in those days, you could stand behind the camera if you were one of the cool people. The
Right.
audience is sort of out there. I'm over here by the camera, and Johnny's here on the couch. So I'm really close. I mean, I could reach out and touch him almost if I wanted to. And I'm watching it this close, and I'm thinking, this is no big deal. Why is this guy gets paid so much money? Why is this guy so? This makes it so easy. Anybody could do this. And my boss, I said to him after, I said, what's the big deal with Johnny? I don't see it. They give him a stack of notes. He doesn't read any of them. He just kind of wings it, and he's off. He says, oh, you're not listening, are you? He's not listening at all. And I said, what? He said, watch it. And so we went a couple more times. I'm like the guy in Kung Fu. Okay, you're not paying attention,
Right.
little grasshopper. And finally he said, you don't see what he's doing. Johnny's whole job is to make the guest look good. He only steps in and does a joke if they're fumbling or falling, and he picks them up and saves them. Otherwise,
Make sure that there's not enough to make sure that there's no dead airtime.
he
I tell people
sets
all the
them
time,
up, he guides them along, he makes them feel comfortable when they're nervous, and only if they start to fail or falter does he turn it back on himself to do it. As opposed to later, everybody else who's followed him, including Letterman and what's her name, Joan Rivers and everybody else, they would take the joke and step on it. And he would never do that. He knew where the joke was, and if he was there to make you look good and to set you up.
Yeah, I think.
In fact, can I give you? I give you a different example of that. I know we're trying to race off here. So one of the early times I went there, Johnny was at the end of his career, and Joan Rivers came in as the original guest host for a while,
Right.
and she was terrible. She was funny, but she was a terrible host because it was all about her. So I had at the time Rip Taylor, who another one you've probably forgotten, the crazy guy who's
No,
running
I
around
know.
to confetti and everything here, and he's on the show, and so Rip is nervous and he's backstage, and Rip had been in. The joke was Rip had been in Playgirl magazine.
Okay.
After Burt Reynolds started that whole thing, all these celebrities raced into Playgirl. And so he was in Playgirl, and he was in February, the shortest month of the year. Ha, ha, ha. That's supposed to be the punchline. So she's supposed to say, oh, I see you were in February, and he's supposed to say, yeah, the shortest month of the year. Laugh. So he goes on the set. Everybody knows the joke. It's all set up. Joan knows the joke. He knows the joke. Everybody's got the whole reason for him being on. And as soon as she says, I see you were in February, before he can say anything, she says, the shortest month of the year. And everybody laughs. He came off so red-faced and so angry. He said, that bitch, she knew what she was doing. She took the joke. Johnny would never do that. And that's true. Johnny was there to make you look good. Joan was there to make herself look good. And I dare say everybody who's followed him.
And that's a great example, Paul, because it's exactly what we're talking about. A lot of people that get into this are thinking about doing digital content that is about them,
Right.
right? so they can use it to promote their business.
Look at me.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. If you're the person sitting in front behind the mic and that is your goal, let's talk about how you can basically still seem like you're delivering content versus just self-promoting.
Right.
Because
exactly.
self-promoting, I don't care who you are.
It's not.
At
It's
some
not
point,
fake.
self-promoting,
Yeah.
and coming out of COVID, coming out of the fact that, you know, we are more about substantial relationships and meaningful connections, and not wanting to waste time basically on fluff that doesn't mean account for much. If all you're doing is trying to project yourself, I would say let's think about this and let's talk about it. There may be a different angle here that will both serve that, but also provide another, call it, what is it, like an upsell, another layer to what your offering is.
Mm-hmm.
That again, will it pass the test of being sustainable if we project forward? How long should it be? You know, when should it be?
And what do you
What
do
day
with
of the
it?
week? What day of the week should it be? Should it be a morning thing? I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, Javon's show basically goes out on Saturday morning because it's an awake spiritual thing, and that's when people are more receptive
Take
to
some
that.
thought, take some effort. You can't just get a mic and start recording and say, I got a podcast.
Because that's not a podcast.
No.
That's just digital content that's about you.
Right.
Right. And
It's
if
a
you,
TikTok
if you're,
video.
Yeah, it's TikTok. It's TikTok. Go do TikTok every day.
Right.
All right. Again, reach out to me and to Paul. Loving this collaboration. It's nothing new. We've been talking about this for a while,
Yeah.
but we're ready to really kind of kick it into high gear. Reach out to Paul at octalkradio.net. Reach out to me on goldensteelproductions.com, or just look out for us on social media. Come talk to us. It doesn't cost you anything, but let's talk about this. And if you are interested, we do have a lot of stuff to offer, both on the production and strategy.
From inexpensive programs to expensive full-blown programs where you get the guest and we do the rest.
Why would you want to build your following from scratch when you could potentially team up as either part of family for Golden Seal Production, channeled through OC Talk Radio, where you have other people that are already aware of us that will come and pay attention, because we are telling them what you are and what you're putting out is content that is quality, that they should be able to pay attention to and that they can count on.
Don't do it badly, and don't do it by yourself. Not if you've never done this.
Don't do it by yourself. Right. We're here to help. We'd love to talk to you. Thanks, Paul, for the opportunity to do this. And I really love this exclusive relationship that we're developing to help people out.
I welcome your help, because I feel like I've discovered a gold mine 10 years ago, and I'm going to dig it out with my bare hands, right?
Well, we'll bring in some steam engines.
That's what I'm hoping for. All right, thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Reach out to me and Paul.
You have been listening to the Raad Life radio show with your host and age explorer, Raad Gontos, brought to you on the one and only octalkradio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.